6 inches of volcanic ash buried the Indonesian island of Flores in 2003, sealing away secrets for millennia. What ultimately crawled out of that archaeological dig wasn't a monkey, wasn't a lost child. It was the skeletal remains of a 3.5-foot adult human, sporting a brain no bigger than a grapefruit. Just one peer-reviewed paper later, the world was introduced to Time's Homo floresiensis *, a brand new human cousin that science simply never predicted. Can you even imagine that? A whole new species of human, hiding right under our noses, just waiting to be dug up. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If something that monumental can still be out there, what else are we missing? What other mind-bending discoveries are just waiting to completely upend everything we thought we knew about history? Stick around, because today we're counting down 10 archaeological finds so utterly bizarre, so deeply mysterious. They didn't just rewrite our history books, they practically set them on fire. Section 10. The 7,000-year headless grave. Picture this: a quiet construction site in Vrable Velké Níňany, Slovakia, just last year in 2023. The rhythmic clang of machinery, the rumble of backhoes. Then suddenly, everything stops cold. What they unearthed wasn't just a few scattered bones, but something far more unsettling. 38 human skeletons, all of them missing their heads, neatly laid out in a single communal pit. Carbon dating pushed these individuals back some 7 millennia, placing them 5,000 years before the pyramids of Egypt even began to rise. This was a time when Neolithic farmers were just beginning to settle down, taming the land. And yet, there they were. No signs of ancient warfare, no brutal weapon marks scarring their bones, no hurried, chaotic burial. These weren't victims of a sudden, violent raid. Archaeologists, understandably baffled, meticulously checked every possibility. Could animals have disturbed the graves and carried off the skulls? Unlikely, given the orderly arrangement of the bodies. Was it erosion? Not consistent with the undisturbed nature of the rest of the remains. They even checked if the skulls had been buried separately nearby, perhaps in another ritualistic context. Nothing. The best, most chilling guess? Ritual decapitation. But on a scale that Europe has simply never recorded before. We're talking about an entire community, or a significant portion of it, deliberately and systematically separated from their heads. Without any written language from these ancient farmers, the question hangs in the air like smoke from a long-extinguished fire. Who exactly were they trying to impress or appease? Was it a sacrifice? A punishment? A dark, communal rite, lost to the mists of time? Whatever it was, it challenges our understanding of early European society in the most profound and disturbing way. Section 9. Iron prosthetic hand, medieval Germany. Let's jump forward a few millennia to 1400s Germany. The Middle Ages, often lazily dubbed the Dark Ages, a period we tend to imagine as technologically primitive. But then, a discovery in a leper hospital cemetery near the small town of Hildburghausen throws a wrench into that narrative. What they found was the skeletal remains of an ordinary man, but he came with an extraordinary upgrade. A sophisticated iron prosthetic hand, clearly designed to replace 4 missing fingers. Imagine this: 4 intricately crafted iron digits, riveted to a robust leather cuff, with traces of the original stitching still clinging to the metacarpals of his hand. It wasn't just a crude hook. This was a functional, articulated device. CT scans of the artifact were even more revealing. The metal wasn't cast, which would have been easier but less durable. It was hand, forged, a testament to incredible skill and patience. And here's the kicker. The articulation of those iron fingers mirrored the complex motion of real tendons. This wasn't just a cosmetic piece. It allowed for grasping, for a semblance of normal function. This level of biomechanical understanding wouldn't look out of place in a Civil War field hospital, some 400 years later. How on earth did a rural metalsmith, working in medieval Germany, map human anatomy so precisely? What kind of knowledge did they possess that we've completely overlooked? And perhaps even more puzzling, why did this incredible technology, this advanced understanding of prosthetics, seemingly vanish for centuries, only to be reinvented much later? Textbooks, it seems, have a whole chapter missing when it comes to medieval innovation. It forces us to reconsider the entire intellectual landscape of a period we thought we understood. Section 8. The Mummified Mermaid of Okayama. Japan, a land steeped in ancient traditions and fascinating folklore, keeps some truly odd secrets. And this one? Oh, this one takes the cake. For 300 years, in a temple in Okayama, sat a grotesque, shrunken figure, revered as a mummified mermaid. It was a sight to behold: thin, leathery pufferfish skin, meticulously glued to the torsos of what appeared to be monkeys, topped with strands of human-like hair, all of it lacquered and contorted into a grinning, shrunken figure that was both eerie and captivating. Locals swore by it, believed it granted longevity and good fortune. This wasn't just a curiosity, it was a sacred object, an embodiment of ancient beliefs. When researchers finally got their hands on it in 2022 for a proper scientific investigation, the results were both unsurprising and, well, still pretty amazing. They found zero fish DNA, zero monkey DNA in the way you'd expect from a single creature. Instead, what they uncovered was a masterclass in Edo period taxidermy, a brilliant, if bizarre, assemblage of fish, monkey, and human hair. It was a clever, elaborate hoax, designed to look convincingly like some mythical creature. And yet, the mystery doesn't end there. The monks' records, preserved through generations, describe elaborate rituals performed before this mermaid. Incense would fill its mouth, and the statue would speak. Was this pure trickery, a ventriloquist act to impress the faithful, or was it a powerful faith amplifier, a tangible representation that deepened belief for those who gazed upon it? Either way, nobody today can replicate the craftsmanship. The precise adhesive formula used to bind these disparate elements together remains lost, a secret of a bygone era. And, perhaps understandably, no modern artisan has exactly volunteered to gut pufferfish and painstakingly stitch them to monkey torsos for the sake of scientific replication. It's a reminder that even hoaxes can be works of forgotten art, challenging our assumptions about ancient ingenuity and belief systems. Section 7. Piri Reis maps Ghost Continent. In 1513, Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis, a formidable cartographer and naval officer, inked a map onto a gazelle hide. It meticulously depicted the known coastlines of Europe and North Africa, and then, strikingly, the eastern coast of South America with remarkable accuracy for its time. But then, and this is where things get truly weird, he kept drawing. Beyond what should have been the southern tip of South America, his map sketched a shoreline that uncannily mirrors the coast of Antarctica. And here's the punchline. It shows Antarctica times ice-free asterisk. Now, geologists are pretty clear on this. The continent has been glaciated, covered in a massive ice sheet for at least the last 6 millennia, and long before that. Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until the 19th century, over 300 years after Piri Reis drew his map. So, how on earth did he depict it, let alone an ice-free version? There are two main, equally mind-boggling possibilities. Either the Ottomans somehow inherited incredibly ancient source charts, perhaps from a lost civilization with advanced navigation and mapping capabilities, charts that predate the last ice age, when parts of Antarctica might have been ice-free. Or, and this is almost harder to swallow, somebody, somewhere, guessed the coastline with what can only be described as GPS-level luck. The map's marginalia, the notes scribbled by Piri Reis himself, claim he used about 20 older maps and charts as his source material, including one from a captured Spanish sailor who had supposedly seen logs from Magellan's voyage. But here's the problem. Magellan, for all his incredible feats, never sailed that far south to chart Antarctica. He didn't even complete his circumnavigation until 1522, 9 years after Piri Reis drew his map. Today, this extraordinary parchment sits in Istanbul's Topkapı Palace, a silent challenge to our understanding of ancient knowledge. It dares us to explain how latitude and longitude could line up within 0.5 degrees of accuracy without the aid of modern satellites or advanced surveying equipment. It's a cartographic conundrum that continues to baffle historians and cartographers alike, hinting at a lost chapter of global exploration far more ancient and sophisticated than we can currently imagine. Section 6. Sangsing Dui's Overnight Vanishing Act. In 1929, Some Chinese farmers near the city of Guanghan were digging an irrigation ditch when their shovels struck something hard. It turned out to be bronze. Little did they know, they had stumbled upon the first hints of an entire lost civilization. But it wasn't until 1986 that the site truly exploded onto the world stage, revealing a hoard of artifacts so unique, so utterly unlike anything else found in Chinese archaeology, that it forced a complete re-evaluation of early Chinese history. We're talking about colossal bronze masks with popping, bug-like eyes and exaggerated features, some almost 6 feet tall. There were towering, 12-foot-tall tree-of-life statues, intricately cast, and then piles upon piles of elephant tusks, stacked like firewood, thousands of miles from where elephants naturally roamed. This was the Sanxingdui civilization, a sophisticated Bronze Age culture that flourished in what is now Sichuan province. And then radio silence. Around 1100 BCE, this vibrant artistic civilization simply stopped existing. It wasn't a gradual decline. There's no telltale ash layer from a catastrophic fire, no fields littered with arrowheads from a devastating invasion, no widespread evidence of disease, just 2 enormous pits, filled not with bodies, but with their treasures. These incredible artifacts, the masks, the statues, the tusks, had been systematically smashed, deliberately burned, and then carefully buried in a single, cataclysmic event. What happened? An earthquake? An invasion by a rival power? An internal coup that led to the ritual destruction of their most sacred objects? Modern digs have revealed cracks under the city walls that suggest a major earthquake, but there are no bodies, no widespread human remains to indicate a mass casualty event. Imagine for a moment, if tomorrow all the museums in New York City were suddenly emptied, their priceless collections systematically destroyed and buried in Central Park. And then, every single resident of the city simply boarded a train that never arrived, leaving no trace. That's the scale of the mystery at Sanxingdui. History, in this case, has absolutely no receipt, no explanation for the sudden, complete disappearance of an entire advanced culture. It's an archaeological ghost story, haunting our understanding of ancient China and leaving us to wonder what dark secret lies buried beneath those 2 enigmatic pits. Section 5. Stonehenge's missing blueprint. Stonehenge. It's iconic, instantly recognizable, and one of the most studied prehistoric monuments on Earth. We know the outer ring of massive sarsen stones came from Marlborough Downs about 20 miles away, but the smaller, blue stones of the inner horseshoe, those were quarried in the Preseli Hills in Wales, a staggering 150 miles away. We also know that it aligns perfectly with the solstice sunrise, suggesting a profound astronomical or ritualistic purpose. But what nobody, and I mean times nobody asterisk, can replicate or fully explain is how Neolithic Britons, a people without wheels, without advanced pulleys, without metal tools, managed to float 45-ton sarsens across land and river, then painstakingly seat them with millimeter precision. Think about that for a second. 45 tons. That's like moving 9 full-grown elephants, across varied terrain, over rivers, and then lifting them into place, not just roughly, but with an accuracy that would impress modern engineers. A 2016 experiment, attempting to move a much smaller 5-ton stone using a sled, required 20 university rowers and a specially constructed steel track. Now, multiply that effort by 80 stones, some of them 9 times heavier, and then subtract the steel, the sturdy ropes, the constructed roads. You're left with a monumental puzzle. And to make it even more challenging, carbon dates keep nudging the construction timeline earlier and earlier, pushing the capabilities of these ancient builders further back in time, tightening the window in which they achieved this engineering marvel. Somewhere, deep under the Salisbury Plain, undoubtedly lies the instruction manual, the engineering blueprint that explains how they did it. We just haven't read it yet. It's a testament to human ingenuity, yes, but also to a lost knowledge that remains stubbornly just out of our grasp. Section 4. Out-of-place iron tubes. In 1912, workers splitting incredibly ancient limestone near London, Texas, made a discovery that still sends shivers down the spines of conventional archaeologists. Embedded within rock, dated to a staggering 65 million years old. That's Cretaceous period, folks, the age of dinosaurs. They pulled out a weathered, undeniably man-made iron hammerhead. Subsequent metallurgy reports showed it to be composed of 96% pure iron with virtually zero sulfur. What's significant about that? It means it never corroded, despite being encased in an oxygen-rich layer for millions of years. Critics, of course, cry, modern drop-in, suggesting it was just a hammer lost by a miner. But the rock surrounding it, the very matrix it was embedded in, was undeniably Cretaceous. The hammer was times of the ancient rock formation, and it's not an isolated incident. Similar, out-of-place artifacts, or ooparts, have surfaced elsewhere. Consider the mysterious metallic tubes emerging from 300 million-year-old French coal seams. These aren't just random bits of metal, they're perfect cylinders, some with what appear to be threaded ends. The mainstream scientific answer for such finds is usually concretions, natural geological formations where minerals accumulate around an organic core, forming unusual shapes, but drilling a perfect, uniform pipe thread with no tool marks. Nature, as a rule, doesn't usually chase IKEA specs. These objects, whether the Texas hammer or the French tubes, represent a profound challenge to our understanding of geological timelines and the timeline of technological development. They whisper of advanced civilizations existing millions of years before we believe they should have, or they force us to completely rethink the processes of natural formation. Either way, they're a persistent, unsettling anomaly in the fossil record. Section 3. The Antikythera computer. Imagine this. It's 1901. Sponge divers off the coast of a small Greek island, Antikythera, are exploring an ancient shipwreck. Amidst the amphorae and bronze statues, they recover what looks like a corroded, calcified shoebox-sized lump. For decades, it sat largely unnoticed, an unassuming blob of history. A century of painstaking work, using advanced X-rays and imaging techniques, slowly, miraculously, began to reveal its true nature. What emerged was nothing short of astonishing, a complex, intricate mechanism made of 37 interlocking bronze gears. This wasn't just an ancient clock. This was an astronomical calculator of unparalleled sophistication, dating back to 150 to 87 BC. It could predict eclipses decades in advance, track the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games, and even correct for the moon's elliptical wobble, a phenomenon that ancient astronomers understood, but rarely accounted for in such detail. The level of engineering and astronomical knowledge required to build this device is simply mind-boggling. Nothing approaching its complexity, its precision, or its computational power reappears in the historical record until the astronomical clocks of 14th century Europe, a staggering 1500 years later. The engineers who built the Antikythera mechanism clearly understood differential gearing, a concept invented by the 1800s. Every time we think we've mapped the full extent of ancient capabilities, every time we draw neat lines around what ancient Greeks could and couldn't do, this shoebox-sized marvel just laughs from its museum case in Athens. It's a powerful, tangible piece of evidence that ancient civilizations possessed a scientific and technological prowess that we are only just beginning to fully appreciate. Section 2. Stone spheres of Costa Rica. Scattered across the Diquís Delta in Costa Rica, like giant marbles dropped by some forgotten deity, are over 300 polished stone balls. Some are the size of a tennis ball, perfectly cupped in your hand. Others are massive, heavier than a pickup truck, weighing up to 16 tons. For generations, locals joked that the gods themselves played bocce in the rainforest. But when archaeologists and geologists finally measured them, they discovered something truly astonishing. Many of these spheres exhibit sphericity within 2 millimeters. That's an almost perfect circle, achieved with incredible precision. The mystery deepens when you consider their origin. There's no quarry nearby that offers the matching rock from which these colossal spheres were carved. Instead, the raw material, a hard igneous rock called granodiorite, is found up to 50 miles inland, deep within dense rainforest, across challenging terrain. How were these massive stones transported? What tools did they use to carve them with such extraordinary accuracy? Modern diamond-cutting firms, equipped with all our advanced technology, have tried to replicate the finish. They quit after days of grinding, still leaving visible tool marks on the stone. The ancient creators, working with primitive tools, achieved a flawless, mirror-like polish. The civilization that created them, the Dikis culture, flourished between 200 BC and 1500 AD, but they vanished before Spanish contact, taking the instruction manual for these incredible feats of engineering with them. Were they territorial markers, delineating the boundaries of their land? Were they astronomical pointers, aligning with celestial events? Or perhaps, as some playfully suggest, paperweights for giants? Their exact purpose remains elusive, shrouded in the impenetrable jungle and the silence of a lost people. They stand as a testament to an unknown ancient knowledge, a profound riddle carved in stone, waiting for someone to finally crack the code. Section 1. Homo floresiensis, the real hobbit. Alright, coming in at number 1, because it doesn't just rewrite history, it fundamentally redefines what it means to be human. The initial discovery in 2003 on Flores Island, Indonesia, was of an adult female, standing a mere 3 feet 6 inches tall, hence the nickname, the Hobbit. Her brain volume was roughly the size of a chimpanzee's, tiny compared to modern humans. And yet, here's the kicker, she wasn't a primitive ape. She knapped sophisticated stone tools, tools sharp enough to butcher animals. She hunted dwarf elephants, yes, dwarf elephants, because island isolation affects everything, and she controlled fire, a hallmark of advanced hominin behavior. The layers in which her remains were found, along with those of several other individuals, date from about 50,000 to 190,000 years old. This means times Homo floresiensis times was walking the earth, hunting, and making tools at the same time as both Neanderthals and our own species. Asterisk Homo sapiens asterisk. This completely blew conventional evolutionary timelines out of the water. Initially, some evolutionists proposed that the Hobbit was simply a modern human suffering from dwarfism or microcephaly, a condition causing a small head. But further digs on Flores revealed a fascinating phenomenon: classic island rule. On islands, large animals tend to shrink due to limited resources, while small animals can grow larger due to a lack of predators. Indeed, the dwarf elephants she hunted were tiny, but the island's giant Komodo dragons, her potential predators, also shrank. However, the real head-scratcher came with the detailed study of her anatomy. Her wrist bones, for instance, look less like those of times Homo erectus times, our direct ancestor from whom she was initially thought to have descended, and more like those of Australopithecines, hominins that lived 3 million years, earlier times in Africa. So, is she a dwarf descendant of early times Homo erectus asterisk, pushed to extreme adaptation by island isolation? Or, and this is the truly wild theory, is she a remnant line of pre-*erectus times wanderers, an incredibly ancient lineage that somehow island-hopped across the treacherous Wallace Line, a deep-water channel that has always separated Asian and Australian fauna and survived in isolation for millions of years? Either answer completely flips the textbook timeline of human evolution right out the window. It suggests our family tree is far more bushy, far more complex, and full of far more surprises than we ever dared to imagine. Asterisk Homo floresiensis times isn't just an archaeological discovery. It's a profound existential question about who we are and where we truly come from. Enjoying the strangeness? Feeling that satisfying itch of historical mystery? Then do us a favor. Hit that like button so the algorithm knows you want more history that refuses to behave, more discoveries that make you go, wait, what? And if you've got your own wild theory on the hobbits, or any of these other baffling finds, drop it in the comments below. Just keep it civil, folks. No ancient head. Hunting rituals allowed in the comments section, please. We're all about respectful, curious debate here. Conclusion. History isn't just a neat stack of pottery shards, perfectly categorized and understood. It's more like an enormous, sprawling jigsaw puzzle where half the pieces glow in the dark, and the box just keeps getting bigger every year. Every single discovery on today's list started with a shovel hitting something that simply didn't belong, something that defied all expectations. And each one leaves us with more questions than answers, more tantalizing clues that hint at worlds and knowledge we've long forgotten. It's exhilarating, isn't it? This constant push against the boundaries of our understanding. So, Next time you're out on a hike, kicking at a weird-looking rock, or just rummaging through an antique shop, take a second, closer look. You never know what forgotten secret might be staring back at you. Archaeologists might just be arguing about your time's discovery a century from now. Stay curious, keep questioning, and remember that the past is always full of surprises. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next mystery.